Hi, good day everyone. I'm Simon Dawson, Senior Lecturer at Cardiff Metropolitan University. Welcome to my short interviews with industry specialists where I get to ask them how they got into the field of work, some of the essential skills that they use and any advice and activities that they can offer current students during their studies or when they graduate. Today I'm joined by Rebecca Hall, a graduate at Cardiff Met Environmental Health from 2013.
I think so.
Right. Rebecca, well, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you. No, it's lovely.
Great. So first of all, I'd just like to ask you if you can explain a little bit about what you've done since graduation.
Sure. So I did environmental health at university. So I covered food in that, but also housing, environmental protection, public health, health and safety as well as part of that. So I went on to become an environmental health officer, which is what I'm doing now. And I've always worked for local authority since I've graduated. So I've worked for a few different ones. I've worked for Cardiff, and I've worked for smaller ones like Sedgemoor, and then working with Taunton, and I'm currently working with Bristol. So that's been really good to get a feel for how other places do different things with different policies, different local issues, and meeting different people, different ways of working. So I mainly work in housing now, but I could go into food if I wanted to, and I did do food at Sedgemoor. But I've always fallen back into housing again. So, but I do like housing, and but equally I do like the variety. So, for example, in the smaller authorities, you could end up doing all of those disciplines, and you could just have a little area of that local authority, and you just do everything. So if you have an accident come in, you investigate it, private water supplies, all the food premises in that area, so you end up knowing that area really well.
Yes.
Or in the larger authorities, you can end up being quite specialised, which is how I started off in Cardiff, and then again in Bristol, but we kind of move around a little bit in Bristol, but only within housing. So it is a lot more specialist.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doing a degree in environmental health is quite a specific choice. Have you always wanted to be an environmental health officer?
I think most environmental health officers that you ask will say that they fell into it, because it's not one of those careers that you think of automatically, I don't think, and it's more one that's behind the scenes working. It's not one that's in the forefront of people's minds. So unless you've had direct dealings with environmental health, which in food businesses, you get people from food businesses who want to go into environmental health because they've seen the inspectors coming around and they think, oh, I quite fancy that, but they don't realise that actually there's a lot in it, and there's a lot that you cover and study, which is really interesting. But for then some people who just want to do food and don't want to do anything else, they may not like it as much. But for me, you know, that I really enjoyed doing all of that and covering all of that, and having that option as well, that if I fancy a change from housing, I can change and do something else. And then there's so many other careers as well that you can go into, well, with private companies, going, if you want to work down in London, there's loads of jobs down there with all sorts of things. It's not just environmental health that you can go into, because it's so wide in terms of what it covers.
Yes. So to progress to become an environmental health officer, what do you actually need to do then? Is just you go to university, you get a degree, and then that's it, you automatically become an environmental health officer?
So they've recently changed it. So any degree, so with Cardiff Met, it's chartered with the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, accredited, sorry, not chartered. So you get your degree and then you are a member with them, but you need to do a 2-year placement, or to get 2-year experience to then become a chartered member. So this is relatively new. So this is something that some local authorities or companies can offer and I think it's 2 disciplines that you have to get experience in. So you wouldn't need experience in all of them, but you would need 2, and they'd have to be signed off. I'm probably not the best person to talk to about it because I've done it under the scheme that's just finished now, which is being registered under the Environmental Health Registration Board, also known as EORB, that people talk about. But the new thing that's coming in is to become chartered. Okay. So yeah, so that will be the thing going forward now with the CIEH.
Yeah. So what do you find are the greatest challenges then in your current line of work?
So I think it's just working with people in general. You have to like people to do the job, I think, because it's all about working with them. It's about protecting people, speaking with people, and trying to get them to be compliant, preferably informally, rather than using enforcement action. And just managing expectations really for people, because often there's a lack of understanding with the legislation, and what's necessary for businesses or landlords or whatever for them to do, and also on maybe the tenants or the complainants' part, that they think that they must be doing a certain thing when actually it might not be necessary and we're more interested in something else. So it's just managing those expectations and working with people really, and having good communication skills. So as long as you're okay with people, I think being confident helps as well, so that people have got faith in what you're saying and what you're doing, but also being honest and being quite upfront about things, which I always am. And if you don't know something, to just go away and come back and just say that you don't know, just so you build up that good sort of reputation and being reliable and being able to help them. And you do find that people do often then come back to you for advice if they need it, because they know that they can talk to you about it. Yes. And it helps them then, and it helps you because you know that they're going to be compliant.
I see. So it kind of half answers my next question, which was going to ask you about the essential skills that you use on a regular basis. So I'm assuming the first one that you would say is communication.
Yes, definitely. I think that's important in any role. And you need that for working with public businesses, partnership working, which I think is very important. And yeah, just daily life, and that's including with written, verbal, everything really. I think being able to learn and retain information as well, and it helps if you're interested in it, because I think when you're doing a job and if you're not interested in what you're doing, it comes across when you're working with people. And I think when you have got a business or somebody and you're explaining something, if you're there and you're just really bored, you don't want to be there, they don't particularly want you there either. So well, probably. So I think, to be a bit sort of enthusiastic and to get them on board with what you're doing so that they can believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's good, which isn't really a skill, it's more of an attitude, a professional attitude, I'd say.
Oh, that's good. Professional attitude.
Yes.
So when you were doing your degree, did you do any additional qualifications or any additional work that kind of helped since graduating?
So I did a placement with Cardiff Council during my degree. So I did a sandwich year, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah, so I worked with them for 14 months and that was brilliant. That was an excellent opportunity for me. I was really lucky to get that. And that really helped in terms of getting experience of seeing how things are done in practice, because the degree is really good. You learn so much stuff, but to see it in practice, it really helps in terms of sort of procedures and how things are done and how it works alongside policy and how it can vary in terms of interpretations of the legislation.
Hmm.
So I think you need that really, and I would recommend getting some work experience just to see what it's like. And you can go out on a few visits and shadow some people. It's normally quite easily arranged. I know we often have students coming in and or people that are interested in environmental health,
Hmm.
and I'm always happy to take people out and meet people, and they can see what we do.
Hmm.
So yeah, I do think that's important to get a feel for it and see.
Yeah.
Because often as well, when you're doing the degree, um, I know my favourite at the time was environmental protection. And for me personally, it would probably be my least favourite now of all of the areas. And it's funny how it changes that way. So
It is, yeah. So if you were able to speak to any current students or those that are potentially graduating within the next year or two, is there any
mm,
sort of advice or tips that you would give them that would help get them into the career? You know, anything regarding their CV or covering letter, or things that they should be doing alongside their degree?
um, well, as I say, getting work experience is always good,
Hmm.
either from local authorities or private companies. It depends what kind of um, industry or sector you want to move into afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, CVs, I don't really have a CV because I've worked with local authority. It's different. It's you write about the competencies that are there,
Hmm.
and I think Cardiff Met have a module now that goes through how to write the
They do,
competencies
yes.
out.
Yeah.
So if you use that, you can't go far wrong on applications. I think that is a really good tool to use.
Yes.
So if you're using that against the um, job spec and person spec, you can't go too wrong. And just do your best at interview. I mean, I got my Cardiff placement um, based on one day's experience in North Somerset, but I really absorbed as much information as I could. So at the end of the interview, they thought I'd been there for a couple of weeks, and
Wow.
actually I hadn't. It's just that I was so interested in everything that was going on, and because it was a smaller authority, they were getting involved with lots of different things,
Yes.
and I really liked that. So I was able to talk about it. So I think getting that bit of experience and just remembering your transferable skills as well.
Hmm.
Because when I talk to people coming in and they're applying for jobs, they say, "Oh no, I can't do that because I haven't got the experience." So, well, maybe you do in another job, something you volunteered for, or at university, working with people, um, or if they've changed careers, you may not have the direct thing that they've asked for, but actually you've done it somewhere else.
Hmm.
It's just trying to think of where you have done it, because you probably have.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, it's been quite interesting since talking to a range of different people in different roles, because some of the points seem to be coming out quite frequently, and that is communication is obviously very, very important.
Yeah,
But then a lot of them do say any experience, it doesn't matter what it is, because
yeah,
you have got these transferable skills where you can use from one area to another. And if you can
definitely.
learn how to portray this when you're going for things like interviews, it can really help you as well. That
Yes.
and always do something that you enjoy.
Pardon?
And always do something that you enjoy.
Yes, yeah. I think, enthusiasm and confidence goes a long way, even if you don't necessarily feel it. If you're enthusiastic about it, I think that comes across, particularly at interviews. Because again, if you're not interested, the interviewer will know.
Mhm.
And why would they want to work with somebody who didn't really want to be there? Your motivation would be lower, productivity would be lower, you wouldn't learn as quickly. It's just not good for the organization if you haven't got somebody who is motivated. So
Yes.
it's not just meeting that criteria, but also how you come across as well. It certainly helps. um, well, I've never interviewed anybody, so I don't know the exact criteria, but from my experience, I think how you come across is a big thing.
You missed the word of yet. You've never interviewed anybody yet. as you're progressing up and moving into director level, I'm sure you'll be interviewing lots of people.
Those dizzying heights of being an EHO.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Rebecca, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you very much for doing this.
That's okay, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you. Take care, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Simon. You too. Bye.